Hi, I'm Shelley Treacher from bristolcounselling.co.uk. I help people to understand comfort, binge, overeating, to get them to the point of being able to reduce or quit the binge eating and overeating. And this works. This is not some punitive diet. I'm sure you're sick of those. Hands up if you've tried all the diets and nothing has worked. This is something different. This is about understanding what's going on behind the eating so that you can naturally come to the point of learning to treat yourself much better. And so giving up the food in your own time. I am not going to tell you to stop eating until you're ready to, and you will do that when you want to. And trust me, it really works to learn to treat yourself with compassion and then come to this decision naturally. Today, I'm responding to one of the comments that I've had in the recent past. I've been producing video tips. You might want to check those out. And one of the comments I had was about how you can reduce eating badly after work. So one of my favorite people said she's fine all day. She doesn't eat anything bad, I'm guessing doesn't eat much at all, actually. She didn't say that, but that can be very common. And then it hits evening, she finishes work, she's not busy, she stops and can't stop eating. I would really love to hear from you if you can relate to this. On that subject, I am so open to questions and comments. I would love to hear from you. Instagram, if you're watching, I can't see your comments. So you might want to hop over to YouTube or Facebook, Shelley Treacher. I would be so very happy to hear any questions that you have about anything to do with binge eating, comfort eating, overeating, and then particularly the subject of today. If you eat at a certain time of day, you're good for the rest of the day, good in inverted commas, and then there's a point of the day that you hit and you just can't stop eating. I have a lot of sympathy for that because so many people tell me this. And it may not be that you're at work all day. It might be that you've got the kids and you're doing the washing, you're doing the washing up, you're keeping the household running, you're really busy, you're keeping the kids entertained, or you're just busy with something. You might even be enjoying what you're doing all day long. And then it hits a certain time of day, you're supposed to be relaxing and all you can think about is food. So let me know if you can identify with this. Just put a comment in the comments saying, yep, that's me. I eat at one particular time of day, and tell me what time of day you eat. Commonly it's in the evening, but it might be a different time of day for you. Then you might have a different schedule. And of course, with COVID, so much more exaggerated because we now have to be very disciplined about when we finish our work. And there's a very loose boundary between work and home. So this eating habit might be changing for you. So let me know what time of day you find the most challenging. Please, I would love to hear that. Your comments are welcome during the broadcast, before the broadcast, and after the broadcast. And if you don't want to be public, you need to join my Comfort Eating Recovery Support Group on Facebook, which is a private group. So if you join from there, your name won't be published. You'll just be an anonymous Facebook user. Or you can send me a private message. Shelley_Treacher@hotmail.com. But let's get on with it. So today I'm going to lead you through a 4-step process. And this is to help you understand what's going on with this experience of eating at a particular time of day. The first question that you need to ask yourself, you might want to write this down. The first question is to ask yourself, what state are you in the working day or in the day? The time before you're binge eating, the time when you're not binge eating. What state are you actually in? What emotional state? What physical state? What energetic state? And I'm willing to guess. I mean, you can put in the comments what state you believe that you're in, what state you are in the daytime. I would love to hear, because then if it's not what I think it is, then I may do a broadcast on the state that you're in. But I'm willing to bet that most people are in a bit of a stress state. And I'm going to take you through some signs to know how to recognize that you're in this stress state. So we call it in the business fight, flight, or freeze. You might actually be in a state of fight, flight, or freeze as you're going about your daily busy business. So, number one, and you can put in the comments if you identify with this, is your breathing shallow? Yes, number one, my breathing is shallow. Number two, check your temperature. Are you having a hot or a cold sweat? Are your feet cold? Are your hands cold? These are all signs. Yes, number two, my temperature's off a little bit. I'm sweating or I'm cold. And number three, do you have any tension in your body? And you might want to check your jaw. Often people are running around their working day, their busy day with a jaw like this. And they're just like, all day long. Is that you? Or do you have tension in your shoulders? Are your shoulders up by your ears? Do you have tension somewhere else in your body? You might have it all over your body. So please put that in the comments. Yes, I have tension in my body. And the last one, I can't actually remember what number we're on. I think I was on number 3, but you need to check your heart rate. Is your heart beating really fast? Number 4, yes, my heart is racing and I'm rushing. Are you rushing through your day? In which case your heart is going to be fast and your jaw is going to be tense and your breathing is going to be shallow and you might have some kind of sweat or be really cold. So that's number 4. Yes, I am rushing. And number 5, I have to check what my, this is a good one. And number 5, are you starting to get irritable? If somebody says to you, could you just do this thing for me? Do you want to bite their head off? Because you've done a million things and you've got a ton of things to do yet. And then somebody else has just asked you to add an extra one to the pile. So are you getting irritable? And by the way, all of these are extremely normal responses. I don't want you to think that there's something wrong with you for having any of these. Most of us are going through our working life with these symptoms all day long. However, it's something to consider because at the end of the day, it might be making you comfort eat. And that's the thing you want to give up, right? So you need to understand what's going on. So, are you having one of those physical symptoms? That's step 1. And I'd really love to hear from you if you can identify that. So you've heard these phrases before. I mean, fight, that's characterized with the irritation and the tension in your jaw and heat. You might have it get hot-blooded. Freeze, you might be numb, you might be cold, you might have a cold sweat, you might be very still and not want to move much. And flight, a cold sweat and rushing and your heart beating fast and your breathing being really shallow. You know these phrases, you hear them all the time. They're kind of pop psychology now, right? But what do they actually mean? So I'm going to tell you what they actually mean. They mean that your system detects a threat. It detects that something is threatening in the outside world and it's responding to that as if it were a threat to your life. So your system is starting to shut down all the other areas. Your digestive system shuts down, your breathing starts to change, your heart rate starts to change, you get an adrenaline rush, you get sensitive around your eyes and your hearing, and all these systems start to change and this physiological dramatic change happens in your body. And that's pretty dramatic for just another day at work, right? You're going into a fight, flight, freeze, threat cycle where you perceive that this is not safe. So your system is going to try and do something to make you feel safer or to respond to the threat. That's not quite right, is it really, to spend every working day like that? And you've got to start wondering what the cost of that is. Even without all the binge eating, how can that be good for you going through that every single day? And no wonder you might be tired and look forward to a holiday, which is a difficult thing to hope for in these times at the moment. So I think it's extra important that you start working out what's going on in your working day. So that's step 1. working out what state you're actually in at work, or when you're looking after the kids, or all day long, or whenever it is that you're not binge eating or comfort eating or overeating. Number 2, you need to start asking yourself, I need to check that I'm getting the right one because I've got to get them in order for you. You need to ask what the purpose of that state is. Why are you actually in that state? What's causing you to rush, to stress, to perceive a threat, to make yourself do all that you do in the day, in the way that you do it, in the state that you do it? What is that state doing for you? How is it trying to help you in a way? You kind of want to ask compassionately, what is it trying to do? And one of the things it might be doing, this is just a practical thing, you might be addicted to it. You might be addicted to productivity. That's a massive thing in our culture. There's actually a chemical that's released in our brains that when we do something productive makes us feel good. And that's addictive. You might be addicted to productivity. A lot of us are. So that's just your physiological system. Is that what's happening to you? Put in the comments. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit addicted to productivity. I have to be productive all day long or I don't feel good. And that's just the chemical. That's just the chemical saying, I need more of this productivity to feel good. So you're brainwashing yourself into thinking productivity is amazing, the best thing that you can do to make yourself happy. But it's exhausting, right? So that's number 1. And number two is you might be, this is a very common one, it runs quite deep, and it might be that you're trying to please people. It might be that you're thinking, if I don't do this, people are going to think badly of me if I don't do it quickly, as well as everybody else. You're comparing yourself to everybody else who are probably fictitious, I have to say. They're probably thinking the same thing. They're thinking, oh, I have to work really hard. Otherwise, everybody's going to think really badly of me, or I'm going to feel really stupid. So you're trying to please other people and trying to feel good about yourself through everybody else feeling good about you. That's quite a hard one. I had a beautiful client this week, another one of my favorite people, who we worked through this, and she just came out with, she just said, so basically, I'm just afraid of getting told off. This wonderful middle-aged woman who has, and I'm sorry, my love, if you're not middle-aged, I class middle-aged as anything between 30 and 60, actually. So, it's not, I hope it's not an insult, but yeah, so this grown woman who is afraid of getting told off. And how common is that? Please let us know if you can relate to that. None of us like getting told off. None of us like any kind of criticism or to feel like we're in people's bad books or any kind of confrontation. And it might all be a bit of a myth that we're expecting someone to tell us off. So it's a good thing to identify. It's a good thing to work out that this is what you're responding to. And I may do a whole thing on this because it's a big one. And you also want to watch out for your criticism. So somewhere behind every comfort eater, somewhere behind every stressed out person, somewhere behind all the binge eating is a self-critic. And I talk about this all the time because it's such a prevalent, persistent, annoying, nagging voice that you've got in your head. So identify what the critic is saying about how you should run your day. And that's going to help you to say, actually, I think I'm going to slow down a bit because that's going to be better for me. But we're coming to that in step 4. Let's move on to number 3. Does anybody have any questions at this point? I've got Instagram over the number of people watching, so I can't tell if anybody's watching. Do say hello. I would love to hear that somebody is actually listening to this and needs to hear it. So let me know if you're there. Say hello. Yes, I need help with my binge eating and overeating. I would love to help you. And if you've got any questions, just jot them down or let me know what they are and I will respond. Okay, but let's move on to number 3. So number 3, you need to, once you've established the purpose of the state that you're in, you've worked out what state you're in, you've worked out why, then you need to work out the purpose of the binge. So start asking yourself, okay, So I was uncomfortable in the day, or I was stressed out in the day, or I felt criticized in the day and felt really horrible towards myself. So what am I doing in this binge? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? If you're feeling awful about yourself and you've been running all day long, you're going to need to let go, right? And with binge eating, comfort eating, or indeed any other kind of addiction, any alcohol, watching television, surfing the net. So, this is not exclusive to binge eaters. Your purpose is to let go and to feel better. And it works. It does that for a really short period of time. And so that's what you need to understand, that you are trying to achieve a certain physical state or a certain emotional well-being. And unfortunately, it does work for a short time, but doesn't work for long, and of course makes you feel worse by the end of the day or by tomorrow, or actually sometimes instantly. So you need something else. It's not really working that well. But it helps to identify that that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to feel better because of something that happened before. So it's the cause of discomfort. Number 4. Does anybody have any questions before I move to number 4? I hope that's clear. Let me know if it is. Let me know if you need help with any of it. All right, no questions. So let's go to number 4. So number 4, so important and such a big subject, is to start asking yourself about your needs. What is it that you really, really need? And this can range from physical to emotional to energetic to in the whole of your life. But let's start with physical. Are you actually ignoring your physical needs? Often people who binge eat, people who comfort eat, people who overeat, people who put others' needs ahead of their own don't even meet their physical needs in the day. So it's a really good one to check yourself on. Tomorrow when you go to work, are you going to the toilet at the right time, or do you put it off? Are you giving yourself a drink of water when you're thirsty? Are you putting a jumper on if you're cold? Do you take a jumper off if you're hot, or do you just keep going because you have to keep up this stress level of productivity? So just notice, are you meeting your own physical needs? Could you be doing better on that one? And so what usually happens, what I see quite a lot, is that the people who don't eat much in the daytime or don't eat badly in the daytime actually don't eat much. And it's a little bit more like an anorexic urge. They starve themselves all day and feel good about that. They're like, oh, I managed to not eat all day. And that's almost another thing that they've done is productive. But that's not really going to help you. That's going to make you want to binge more at the end of the day and over a long-term period and put on more weight. And that's just to name a couple of byproducts of starvation. So bad, doesn't really help you at all. But you feel like you're doing something really good for yourself. It's a little bit screwed up, right? The aim with giving up comfort eating, the aim with giving up overeating and binge eating, is to come to a place of having a easy relationship with food. So another thing that I hear quite often is it's so difficult to have an addiction to food because we have to eat, we have to think about food all day. But my take on that is, it's a totally different thing. If you see food as fuel, that's not anything to do with what you're doing. You're using food as a comfort or as a product, as a way to feel better about yourself, whereas food for fuel is something entirely different. So that's the aim, is to get to a relationship where you can leave or take food. And that the only way you can do that really is by being compassionate on both sides, by giving yourself food when you need it, by responding to your physical needs, and by not having food when you don't need it. And you can use another emotional technique to sort out how you feel, which is what we're doing right here. So that's my little lecture, which I've obviously gone off a bit of a tangent with. Where am I in my list? What could you change in the day? So that's another question you can start to ask yourself. What could you let go of? How could you slow down a little bit? What could you get the handle of? Do you need to start saying no a little bit more? Obviously, that's a whole other subject and goes with the other subject that I said I would talk about. So I'm going to talk about that at some point. How to say no runs quite deep. But do you need to start thinking about that? If you're going to meet your emotional needs, if you're going to slow down in the day, do you need to stop and ask yourself, actually, what do I need? This rushing is not really helping me. How can I slow down? And that might mean letting go of some work. What's going to happen if you do that, eh? Is the world going to collapse? Is everyone going to start hating you? Probably not. But somewhere in your brain you might think that. So these are all really good questions to start understanding what's going on for you. And often people who comfort eat or binge eat or overeat or stress eat or emotional eat, often these people have not been taught how to enjoy life and have not been taught that it's okay to enjoy your life. And I know this is particularly hard right now because it's limited how we can enjoy our lives right now. But that might be convenient for someone who doesn't usually think about whether enjoying life is okay for them. Honestly, a lot of people who come to me think it's selfish to focus on their own enjoyment. Is that you? Do you feel like if you got a massage, obviously that's a difficult thing to get right now, but in general, if you received a massage, would that be overindulgent? And to me, that's just pleasure in life, and you're allowed to have that. Life is about pleasure. We are pleasure-seeking creatures. That is partly why you've chosen food. It's pleasurable, right? We all love a little bit of taste of chocolate. I talk about that a lot. I do like chocolate. But so this is where you can get into mindful eating as well. You can start to enjoy food, slow down, enjoy the food, enjoy your day, enjoy what you do at work. Otherwise, why did you choose that work? Surely there's something you enjoy about it. Anyway, you might not enjoy everything about what you do all day. That's pretty normal too, but how can you start getting that perspective of what would I enjoy? How can I meet that need? So that's number 4, to start reflecting on what you actually need and to start meeting your needs. Because let me tell you, in conclusion, what I have found is that if you don't meet your needs, you're not going to give up the food. Or to put it in the opposite way, if you start meeting your needs, you're going to start treating yourself better, so you won't need the food so much. You won't need junk food. You won't need to squash how you feel because you won't feel that bad. You'll feel good about yourself. And that comes back to how you might be criticizing yourself. You really need to develop a person in your head who treats you really well, like you would treat a child or anybody that you love. So that's it. That's my talk for today. The 4 steps through understanding what's going on for you when you're stressed out and start to eat at the end of the day when you stop. So I'm going to recap. If anybody's got any questions while I'm recapping, please put them in the chat. I would very much like to hear if anything is not clear and I can clarify it for you, or if you have any other questions related to binge eating or comfort eating, please let me know. So to recap, the first thing you need to find out is what state are you in all day that might be causing you to binge eat. It's important to understand what you were doing before the binging. And then the second one, what's the purpose of your state? Why are you in that state? What's it doing for you? And how can you start to understand that? The third one, what is the purpose of your binge? To start to understand what it's meeting for you. How is it actually meeting your what you think are your needs at that point? What are your needs at that point? And then fourth, what are your actual needs during the day when you're in this state that you're in that's causing you discomfort so that you have to eat? What are the real needs that you have before you start to eat, way before you start to eat? And if you can get a handle on that and understanding those things, then you can start to treat yourself in a very different way. That's all I have to say really on that subject. If anyone's got any questions or comments, now's the time because I'm going to be going very shortly. Obviously, you can also ask me anything afterwards as well. Next week, I haven't completely decided what I'm going to do, what I'm going to talk about. I am going to possibly try talking at a different time because 5:30 on a Friday, it's pretty difficult for most people, I would have thought, to come live on air with me. So I'm going to try one evening in the week, probably Thursday evening around 6. Don't quote me on that. I will put an event on when I've decided. I'd love to see you there. So if that's a better time for you, let me know, because I can be accommodating at the moment for that. And beyond that, the subject, I'm toying between something to do with how binge eating and overeating affects relationships and partnerships, and the support that how you can use other people to help you with binge eating and comfort eating. And I'm toying between that and whether I should talk about something to do with the reasons why you might want to stay overweight. There are lots and lots of reasons behind in the unconscious about why someone might choose to stay heavier. So that could be interesting too. If you have a preference, let me know, because that will definitely persuade me one way or the other, although I probably end up talking about both at some point. If there's anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I must bid you a very good weekend. If you need any further help, you can find me through bristolcounselling.co.uk website. You can also join my obviously very free Facebook group, Comfort Eating Recovery Support Group. I love it when people join, and I can get involved with you personally there for free. So please take advantage of that. Or you can send me an email at shelley_treacher@hotmail.com, and I'd be very happy to hear from you. So have a beautiful weekend, people, and I'll see you next week very shortly. Bye.